Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the December 21st meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. The sole purpose of this meeting is to vote order of conditions for 3 previously closed hearings. So we're going to get right on with it. First up on the agenda again is voting orders of conditions. First item is Peter and Valerie Mazzina, 127 Shorewood Drive, Falmouth, Mass. For the record, Maury is not on this quorum. This is the dock in East Falmouth. Jen?
Yes, this is the dock in East Falmouth. It's approximately.
Bree is getting the comments.
Steve, is that your noise from the background? Whoever has noise in the background, would you mute unless you talk, please?
Thank you, Steve. It's a 200+ long dock in East Falmouth. They are requesting a variance from the length provision in your bylaw. Mitigating measures that they are offering is shellfish propagation, money toward shellfish propagation, the removal of a small area of Phragmites, and Alyssa, the third one was
Keeping the extra mitigation that they planted.
correct. Keeping the extra mitigation that's already been planted. Staff's concerns are the effects of this dock on the island of Saltmarsh. And, you know, staff's position, since the other docks went in, the marsh is slowly degraded. The applicant made the argument that that could be related to other factors, which could possibly be true. We don't know what's going on with that island of Saltmarsh. There are other islands of salt marsh in town that do not have docks associated with them or over them that are intact. There are also expanses of salt marsh in town that are not islands, that are from the shoreline, that have docks that also have not experienced the fragmentation that this island of salt marsh has. So the staff's concern is the continued fragmentation of this particular resource area in town. And that's what I have.
We're considering a variance request here, and one of the hardest ones to prove is the hardship one. And I'm not convinced that they did a very good job of convincing me that there was a real hardship. You know, it's one of the most difficult ones to prove. And I didn't think their argument was all that convincing. And I think when it was a few years ago, we gave a variance and it came back to bite us rather hard. And I'm not inclined to buy into that.
I'd just like to remind the board that the previous variances, requested in this area for docks, there were pre-existing structures. So just keep that in mind.
Betsy?
So I went through the 3 previous docks that were permitted and the variances, and I just want to point out a couple of things. For 125, owners of this dock have had use of this pier at least since 1984. It was a dilapidated pier. It's dilapidated, harmful to the environment, and dangerous. Applicant proposes the first mitigating measure was removal of the old dilapidated pier. Next, 141, applicant proposes mitigating measures, including 1, the removal of the old dilapidated pier, which will reduce environmental impacts. 131, applicant proposes mitigating measures, including, this applicant, 131, has had use of his pier since 1979. There were pre-existing piers and posed environmental number one, environmental problems if they stayed there. And, but they were allowed to rebuild. It's like a pier that we recently approved in the ACEC that would not have been allowed today because it didn't meet performance standards, but it was approved when it was approved, and it had a Chapter 91 license. And so we allowed it to be rebuilt in the same footprint. And also, I don't consider the mitigating measures, well, the mitigating measures are sort of, what are you willing to bargain with? Well, one is 33 square feet of Phragmites removal. That's 6 feet by 6, less than 6 feet by 6 feet. And in fact, that's beneficial for someone because if they don't take care of that Phragmites, it's going to block their view. And the next was, I'm sorry that they're planning to remove some of the mitigation that they planted, but I always look at mitigation as playing two roles. From our perspective, it's protecting the environment, but from the perspective of the people who own the house, it's protecting the house in case there's a surge there. So I agree with Courtney that they have not met the hardship criteria.
All right, Melissa?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would agree with the prior two speakers, but also I'd like to point out that in our own Falmouth code, Falmouth Wetlands Regulation 10.16, first of all, the whole introduction, the first 2-3 pages of it about coastal docks and piers just writes about all of the harms that docks can do to the environment. And I'm not even going to go into that here because you all have copies of the regulations in front of you. But if you go much further into the regulations, section E, 1016E, titled Design Specifications and Performance Standards Area. Well, okay, so it's ACEC, but still no new dock shall be allowed unless the applicant demonstrates that a public benefit will derive from the construction of the dock or pier. And their plan has a couple of little steps going up and down for quote public access, but there's no way to access the public access where they are. They're asking for a variance, but really, they're asking for a dock, a brand new dock, and there's no dock there. And I just don't believe that Falmouth should be permitting docks in such fragile areas, especially in these days of, sea level rise and everything. I mean, the applicants even stated themselves that they don't have really a use for it. They don't have a boat to put on the end of it or anything. So it's sort of putting in a dock to sort of guess what the future is going to bring, as opposed to, not even really having a need for the dock right now. So I'm having severe difficulties with the I guess the hubris of the application itself, let alone the application. Thank you.
Kevin?
Initially looking at it, I was
I'm sorry, this isn't working. I'm going to have to sign off.
okay.
All right.
When I
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, Steve.
Merry
Merry
Christmas,
Christmas.
Steve.
Merry Christmas, Steve.
I was
You have a phone.
inclined to be positive about the a request for the variance, but in looking further into it, I'm afraid I would be opposed.
All right. Courtney?
Yeah, in essence, I think the hardship is that when you boil it down, the hardship really is that if they don't, without getting a dock, that's the hardship they view, and that's not how we look at it.
All right. Anything else?
I'll make a positive motion to accept
can't-
the order.
Second,
Wait a minute. Hang
Wait,
on.
you can't
Jamie,
do
did
that.
No,
We have to vote on the hardship first.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, you're correct.
wait, Jen?
Jamie, I just wanted to know if you had anything to say. You were going to speak when Courtney made his motion.
No, my only thing was just playing devil's advocate is there's 3 other docks there. I mean, you knew I was coming up with that.
Yep.
I'm not saying 3 wrongs make a right. I'm just saying that there's that piece. So Jen, how do we want to vote? We want to vote on the variance first and then in general, or?
No,
Yeah.
vote the variance request first and then the the application. So variance request first, put a positive motion on the floor to accept the variance application and then vote whether or not you accept the variance application.
Okay, does that make sense to everyone?
Yep,
Yes.
All right. So I'll take a motion.
I'll move that we accept the variance application as proposed.
I'll second. So we can vote.
Okay, so again, to be clear, we have a motion and a second to grant the variance.
Correct.
Okay, is that clear?
Yes,
All right, we're voting. Betsy,
I vote no.
Courtney,
No,
Matthews, no. Kevin,
O'Brien, no.
Melissa?
Bartok, no.
All right, so the variance is denied. All right, Steve's not in, Maury's not in. Okay. That brings us to the application for an order of conditions or to issue an order of conditions.
so
Are there any other comments or questions on it? All right, go ahead,
No.
Courtney.
I'll move to accept the order of conditions as drafted
Discussed, Courtney.
and discussed.
Well, I'm curious, I'm confused about this. So is this,
Well, you can't vote the project if you didn't vote the variance. So it's just kind of like another layer of vote. So
so do I say no?
no, you just say, Courtney, make the second and then vote no. Just like you
All
did
right.
with the variance request.
Can I say something here? The reason I did not say as discussed, but as drafted is because that's what we're voting on. We've already
Well,
discussed variance.
That makes it more confusing, Courtney.
Yeah, Courtney. Why are you
All right,
confusing?
fine, the motion is to accept the order as discussed.
Thank you. All right,
Well, isn't the motion really to accept the project as presented to us?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Right.
I'll make a motion to accept the project as it was initially presented to us.
Correct.
All right, and I'll, just for the record, I'll withdraw my motion.
Thank you.
And give us a second.
Yes, and I'll give you a second.
Just a quick point of order. Wasn't the
yeah,
project
sure,
presented,
let's go.
wasn't the project updated? So we can't do it as originally presented. It has to be as of
Well,
Well,
as
no,
revised.
the 12th.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is, what is originally presented is what was presented that we closed, which includes the
Oh, that's
updated
true.
part.
But the second time it came up, there was an amendment to it. They had removed the Phragmites bit.
Yeah, but we closed it after that.
It's okay. Just a motion to accept the project as
As presented.
presented.
Right.
Okay.
I believe
So you're
that's.
gonna vote to accept it or not?
Correct.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Bartok, second.
So are we clear on everything?
Yes.
We're gonna vote. Betsy,
Gladfelter, no.
Courtney,
Word, no.
Matthews, no. Kevin,
O'Brien, no.
Melissa?
Bartok, no.
All right, it is unanimous. The order conditions is denied. Bear with me one second, please. All right. All right, moving forward. Maury, if you're there, you can come back in. Next up under order of conditions is Ronald Simmons. I don't know if this means manager, MGR.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, Ronald
Maybe
Simmons,
Monsignor.
manager, Hammond Pond Parkway LLC, 14 Ridge Road, Falmouth, Mass. Ben?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Hang on. I need to find it. A little discombobulated down here in the south. This is the replacement of an existing licensed pier, just so that we're clear. It's much different than the last one we discussed. And all they are doing is replacing and turning the float at the end of the pier. But they are keeping the exact same square footage. Am I correct on that, Alyssa?
Yeah, same square footage. Might
Thank
even be a
you.
little less. I don't recall exactly.
Yeah, replacing exists, so it's replacing an existing licensed structure. Okay,
All right, Maury?
I think they're gonna be digging that electric line, and Melissa
Oh.
had concerns that they fill every day, that it's not left open.
yeah, electric line.
Usually we have a standard for that. It's a rolling, what do we call it? A rolling dig or
Rolling
something?
hay bale, or they'll
Yeah.
plate the trench.
Yeah.
Enclosed trench, yeah.
It's only an
At the end of the
18-inch dig, so it's not. They might even mold it. You never know.
Yeah. Since they have to go under the ground and they probably need permission from the association owner, so they might actually just mow it.
Yep.
Yep, okay.
That's all I had. Thank you.
All right, Melissa, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I was just going to add that we wanted to make sure that they had permission to go under the ground across the way, but
Yeah.
Jen just mentioned the association, so.
I don't know if it's the association or if it's privately owned,
Private
but we'll
owners.
make sure that that's done.
It looked like all the trenching was going to be on their property except for crossing the
Mhm.
street. So that was the only bit. And they were going to put up core rolls, I believe, to protect the trenching area from the wetlands that's
Correct.
really close to it.
I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed. Gladfelter.
Bird
I
second.
talk second.
Ooh, competition there. All right, any other questions or comments?
It's early.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I haven't
All right.
finished my first cup yet.
All right, if there's nothing further, we're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks Eye.
Melissa.
Tell guy.
All right, it is unanimous with this quorum. We have issued an order of conditions. Thank you. All right, next up. Lisa Maria Curie, 3 Madeline Road, Falmouth, Mass.
This was improvements to the existing structure. To find my right plan, excuse me, guys. That's existing, that's the old one. Okay, this is the new one. So they were doing a couple improvements, like removing the pavement from the driveway. This is kind of a unique situation where the garage is behind the house, so the driveway actually comes down behind the house and wraps around to enter a garage. They're removing all of that, taking that square footage or less than that square footage and creating a patio. And they are doing a small area of invasive species removal. They're creating a berm with some native plantings in the back. And what is this? They're removing a stone wall. They're doing some reconfigurations of the driveway and the walkway, and they are proposing a row of arborvitaes to lengthen an existing row of arborvitaes to offer some screening to the neighboring property. And although the board should make some findings because this patio technically is moving closer to the resource areas than the present primary structure. But again, in this situation, you have that driveway that is kind of integral to the property because the garage door's underneath.
Right.
So, I mean, if it was regular driveway versus, they wanted to turn some sort of driveway into patio, normally you would allow that. But so we do need to make some very specific findings on this one.
And we'll trust you to use the precise wording that's needed for that.
I will make that happen. All the way down here in South Carolina.
I know you can do it.
Oh, geez, that's right. I hope it's warm.
It's raining and it's kind of cold.
Oh, that's right. You're getting the Arctic blast.
Oh,
Oh
Supposed
yeah.
to get
Back
colder.
to work.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be like 20 degrees down here on
Well,
Saturday.
it'll probably
which
be
is
colder
very
there
cold
than
for
here.
down here.
All right, Melissa.
So two things. One, I did go back and review the property, and I don't have an opinion, an adverse opinion anymore to the arborvitae. I had requested originally cedars, but I hadn't noticed that it was going to be continuing the stand that's already there. Under normal circumstances, I'd say no. But since it's a continuation, I mean, if they can find something that's thick and amenable to their project in lieu of the arborvitae, fine. But I'm not going to protest that design action. And I would like to say that I'm pleased that they're reducing the amount of pavement in the backyard, and their patio is not as large as the driveway that they're removing, but also they're turning the front driveway into permeable surface as opposed to being impermeable. And so I think that's an improvement too. So I'm inclined to move forward with this project.
All right, anybody have anything else?
I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions as crafted carefully by Jen and approve to issue the order of conditions as discussed.
Bird
I
second.
talk second. Oh, I'll give it to you, Courtney.
All right, my coffee's kicking in.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions as discussed. If there's nothing further. All right, we're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Arlo Hawk's eye.
Melissa.
Freytag, aye.
It is unanimous with this quorum. We have issued an order of conditions. And folks, just a reminder, there's no meeting next week. Merry Christmas to all. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas, guys. Happy New
Merry
Year.
Christmas, everyone.
Happy New Year,
Hanukkah,
everyone.
Kwanzaa, Christmas, New
Merry
Year's, all
Christmas.
that fun stuff. Hi, Kristen. Thanks for all your hard work this year.
See you in 2023.
All right, one more
Be safe,
motion.
everyone.
I make a motion to
Travel
adjourn. Arlo
safely.
Hawk's.
I'll second the motion.
Gladfelter, aye.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye.
O'Brien, aye.
Arlo Hawk's eye.
Freytag, aye.
It is unanimous. We
We're
are
adjourned.
adjourned. Thank you,
Merry
everyone.
Christmas,
Merry
guys.
Christmas,
Merry Christmas,
everybody.
Merry
everyone.
Christmas, everybody.
Next year.
See y'all in
Alyssa, I'm gonna call you
2023.
in a few. Courtney.
You're gonna
give me-
have